Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay Black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Wait, hold on. Today is Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Trump chickens out and bails on a meeting with Democratic congressional leaders to avoid a government shutdown, calling their demands unserious and ridiculous. Maryland loses more federal jobs due to Donald Trump's federal cuts and lost 2,500 jobs. The second straight month, the state has led the nation in federal job losses. Folks, you're going to love this story. A Memphis High School Band gets banned from performing at a football game. Yeah, a black high school banned by a white school. So the fans showed up with kazoos. Plus, 2 authors in the studio tonight. First, we'll spotlight a groundbreaking new book chronicling the Black family that shaped American architecture. Cheryl McKissack Daniel, author of The Black Family Who Built America, will join us. Plus, businessman Dr. Lamell McMorris' new book, The Power to Persist, talks about lessons of resilience. Folks, it's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. On the Black Star Network, let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's rolling Martin, rolling with rolling now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's rolling Martin now.
Democrats are blasting the twice-impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump for abruptly canceling this week's White House meeting with Democratic leaders Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. The talks were supposed to hammer out a deal to prevent a government shutdown, but Trump dismissed Democrats' push for more health care funding as unserious and ridiculous and not worth the time. Jeffries fired back, calling Trump's statement unhinged and accusing him of shirking his responsibilities at a critical moment.
The statement that Donald Trump issued today was unhinged. And it related to issues that have nothing to do with the spending bill that is before the Congress and the need to try to avoid a government shutdown. Nothing to do with transgender issues or any of the other wild things from the standpoint of what actually is under discussion in the context of this meeting. Leader Schumer and I sent a letter that we publicly released on Saturday that made clear what the stakes are for the American people. And it related to the Republican health care crisis, the attack on Medicaid, the attack on Medicare, the attack on the Affordable Care Act, the attack on our hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health clinics, and the attack on medical research.
Now, the deadline to avoid the shutdown is September 30th. And so we see all of this back and forth, 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 back and forth. All right, let's get into it with our panel. Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice at the EPA, he joins us. Also, we of course have Michael Brown, of course, former chair of DNC Finance Committee, as well as DC Councilman, and we got Joe Richardson, civil rights attorney out of LA. All right, Michael, this is real simple. If I'm Schumer and Jeffries, all right, since your punk ass don't want to meet, y'all pass this bill. We ain't lifting a damn finger. That's what you do.
It's absolutely what they should do. Frankly, they should have done that in March as well. We know what Senator Schumer, what route he chose to take. But absolutely, I mean, you have no choice. They being Republicans, control the House, the Senate, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, which is obviously the White House. So this is their shutdown if it happens. This is their crisis. They refuse to help people in need relative to health care. And frankly, from my standpoint, we, being Democrats, should have added aid to farmers, not just black farmers, but all farmers that are in dire straits because of these tariffs. So that should have been obviously the health care to save millions of people to keep their health care, but also some aid for farmers. But either I know that's not in there now, but absolutely, if they don't meet the demands of Democrats, whatever happens, and it'll be their fault.
Nah, damn that, Mustafa. I ain't giving the farmers shit, okay? You know why? Because Trump screwed them 4 years ago, and $25 billion in taxpayer funding went to them same damn farmers. And you know what them farmers did? They voted for Trump. So I'm gonna let their ass enjoy all his pain, and I'm gonna sit here and say, no, farmers ain't getting no bailout if regular, ordinary folk don't get a bailout. Damn that.
Well, that's facts right there. That should actually be on a T-shirt because folks really need to take that to heart. Trump can't afford a government shutdown. If we want to talk about it from an economic standpoint, we have an economy that he pushed and pushed to get that interest rate cut because they understood the cliff that was coming and how the economy was trying to get traction. So I remember the 2018-2019 shutdown. We lost about $11 billion, our country did, when that shutdown happens. When he does these different types of things, thinking that he's actually hurting, federal workers and others, he's actually just inflicting more damage onto the economy. So he needs to be really mindful about how he moves. The other thing that goes on when you have these government shutdowns is that it impacts tourism. Now, tourism is already down significantly in our country, and he is going to end up shutting down national parks and a number of other places that people visit. He's also going to impact contractors, because when you impact federal workers, you are also impacting what happens in the federal contracting space, both the general contractors and the subcontractors. So what he is really doing is creating an additional tax on the American people. Folks should be speaking out, and they should be making sure that he understands what's going on. So the Democrats actually have a card to play here by allowing them to have to carry this load themselves. So we'll see how it all plays out.
Joe, I ain't lifting a finger. My deal is, since y'all want to sit here and screw us and don't do, hey, don't, my name Bennett ain't in it. It's all on y'all.
Yeah, and they've got three branches, so let them do it. To the point that's been made, hell, they probably should have did this 6 months ago, to tell you the truth. Finally, Democrats stand up, fight for something. Make them do it. If they don't want a deal, then let them make magic and do it themselves. And I think that even on a Democrat's worst day, I would like to think that they don't get the blame for this thing if it has to shut down. Somebody's got to stand up for those that are the least of us. There are some things that have gotten taken in these bills, and so much so, there have been legislation that's been passed, and the things that were allotted under past bills have been pulled, okay? And so basically, really, I think that the Democrats are in the driver's seat in that they can say, listen, you guys have all chambers of Congress. You guys do what you need to do to get this thing passed. If you're not dealing with us at all, then you deal with it. And they be the ones that are seen as taking a stand for those that are the least of us. And then just go from there. But it's frankly about time that they got an opportunity to really stand 10 toes down. So it looks like they're really standing for something, really looks like they're standing for those that are the least of us. And if the government needs to shut down in the meantime, I don't want to minimize that because we all know that that's a big and drastic thing. But if this is where we are, then this is where we are. The worst thing that they could do is act like we're not at this place. If we are at this place, then you let them do it, let them take ownership of it, and let them take blame for it.
Yeah, I just don't believe in playing nice. I just don't believe in playing nice. And right now, Michael, the problem is these Dems ain't got no guts. They ain't got no gusto. They ain't got no fight. People think that Schumer and Jeffries are weak as hell when they talk about approval ratings, and they're very low among national Dems. These really are the two they talking about.
You're absolutely correct, and every time we're on the show, we talk about this, and we'll see what happens when the vote comes in the next couple days, and if folks stand up, then maybe we'll have a different opinion next time we're on. That they stood up. Obviously, the concern that some have raised is that shutdowns are easy to execute, but they're very difficult to climb out of, because they're going to have the same kind of discussion or negotiation to get out of the shutdown. So that's the challenge. Anytime there's a shutdown, I'm pleased this will be a Republican shutdown or the Trump shutdown. But nonetheless, people will be hurt during a shutdown, and then having to sit down again with Mr. Orange and figure out how to get a deal with him. Because if he tells Speaker Johnson not to meet, if he tells Senator Thorne not to meet and not to negotiate, then we're going to be in this quandary for quite some time. If cooler heads prevailed, they would help the folks who are about to lose their health care. They could come to a deal, do maybe a 7-week extension, and start and just come back. Keep in mind, these CRs are continuing to happen because folks cannot sit down, negotiate, and compromise. So these continuing resolutions are going to continue to happen until the Republicans, frankly, learn that Washington is built and designed to work together and compromise. The president tells them not to work and compromise. This is where we are.
Well, I just, when you're dealing with evil people, Mustafa, at some point, you got to have some fight in you to say, all right, you don't want to meet? Fine. We're not going to meet. Tell your caucus, no, nobody moves. Nobody does nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, Trump is flexing, right? He figures that he can continue to do what he's always done, which is bully folks. I mean, he loses nothing by sitting down and having a conversation with those two members about health care. He can still continue to do whatever he wants to do, but it just shows that he has no real political acumen. He has no idea about how to actually, move the needle on very serious issues that are happening. So folks should just knuckle up. If he doesn't want to do it, let him go ahead and carry the weight. The American folks will remember who was responsible for the shutdown, but they're also going to remember about these cumulative impacts of that's going on inside their lives. So whether it is, the price of food or it's health care or, the environmental issues that are going on, all these things land on Trump's doorstep. And he continues to pile them up. So let him carry the weight for this as well, because he has no idea how to actually help the American people. And that is based upon the actions that he has done, the pieces of legislation that have been of little benefit to the most vulnerable people and even middle-class folks across our country.
Final comment, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, ditto. Let them do it. Democrats need to work on their messaging anyway, okay? A lot of times we're on the right side of an issue, but the messaging is so poor. We're not going to get around the corner and get over the hump and across the finish line if our messaging isn't what it needs to be. Tighten up this messaging so people understand what's going on and people see it the way that it needs to be seen. And it's the way that aligns to truth. It shouldn't be so hard to make the messaging what it needs to be. Work on the messaging, sit tight, and let what comes.
Absolutely. All right, y'all, going to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking all things entrepreneurship. Whether you want to jump right in, take a leap of faith, or you've just been thinking about it for a while, we're having a one-on-one candid conversation with Dr. Tierney, our level up coach and YouTuber of the amazing Hey Sugar. So let's talk about entrepreneurship.
Before you jump out here, know that it is some work that goes into it, and not necessarily the work in the business itself, but some inner work.
That's this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie on Black Star Network.
I'm Dr. Greg Carr, and coming up on The Next Black Table, we're speaking with Dr. Lucius T. Outlaw Jr., master teacher and philosopher. He takes us on his journey to discover and celebrate Black philosophy.
From my undergraduate years at Fisk all the way through my PhD, I was never in a philosophy class where I had a professor who was a person of African descent, nor assigned a text written by a person of African descent, ever.
How he pushed back at those who said there was no such thing and got us all thinking about what it means to be Black. That's on The Next Black Table, exclusively on the Black Star Network.
I'm Russell L. Honoré, Lieutenant General, United States Army retired, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Well, folks, Maryland has lost another 2,500 federal jobs, the second consecutive month they've led the nation in federal job losses. The state's economy is closely linked to the federal workforce. Obviously, when they say the DMV, is D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. According to the Maryland Labor Department, approximately 269,000 residents were employed by the federal government in 2023, with more than 158,000 federal jobs located within the state that year. Come on, let's pull a graphic. The August numbers bring total federal job losses in Maryland to 15,100 since January, when Donald Trump took office and began his push to shrink the federal workforce. Still, since the start of the administration of Governor Wes Moore, Maryland has added 96,000 jobs overall, a rate of growth faster than the nation as a whole. According to Maryland.gov, the 5 sectors with the largest estimated job losses in August were administrative and support and waste management and remediation services, other services, government, health care, social assistance, manufacturing. Listen, we saw Mustafa, we saw Governor Wes Moore. I mean, he saw this coming and what they were doing, being very aggressive in finding opportunities for those folks in the state of Maryland. But listen, Trump doesn't give a damn. It's all about whatever he's doing. So he doesn't care what happened in Maryland with a Democratic governor. Hell, he don't care about Virginia with a Republican governor.
Well, yeah, I mean, all of his actions actually lead to that. I mean, you know, it's an interesting dynamic. You know, I take a look at what's going on across the country. So there are federal workers in lots of different spaces and places. But it seems like wherever we have the largest Black populations, there's intentionality also in, you know, creating chaos and limiting, you know, economic opportunities. When you look at Maryland, we have some of the wealthiest Black counties in our nation. So they also understand. I'm not saying that that's the only driver, but they also understand that there's an opportunity here to continue to shrink the wealth and power inside of the Black community. So one, we should call that forward. The other part of it is, once again, they're actually shooting themselves in the foot, you know, because of the wealth that exists inside places like Maryland and DC and Northern Virginia and a couple of other locations. You know, they play a significant role also in the GDP of our country. So, you know, when you have these policies that often are not well thought out, or they don't take into consideration the damage that you're not only going to do to the Black community, but how that's going to also reverberate across our country, then, you know, it's not only short-sighted, but it is par for the course for this administration to continue to make these types of mistakes.
You might as well get ready for it, Joe. We're going to see more job losses. This economy has been tanking under Donald Trump, and he thinks that the Fed lowering interest rates is going to be the answer. Nah, that ain't going to be it, because this idiot and his tariffs are destroying everything. And you add on top of that what they're doing to the federal workforce, it's crazy.
Yeah, and as we know, the federal workforce has been the basis of the achieved middle class for many Black people, including my own family. My mom worked for the federal government for 40 years, Department of Veterans Affairs. I have cousins actually in Maryland right now that work for the government as well. And so between that, listen, you know, a lowered interest rate is not going to help me buy a house or get a car if I don't have a job. Additionally, even companies that would invest in the economy, they're not going to invest in the economy with these tariffs taking things all over the place. They'd rather save that money because they don't need to make a huge investment of time, place, resource, and then have Trump flip because he's mad at somebody. And so between those two problems, the economy potentially contracts. And then as the economy contracts, now, even if you get a good president a few years from now, even if you get someone else with a different volition and a different will, the money will have dried up and disappeared, or that will certainly be the argument. So yeah, that's not going to get any easier. And in addition to everything else, Maryland also has a bright, incredible governor who could be president. He doesn't want to work with him. He doesn't want to work with Wes Moore. He doesn't want to work with anybody who has the potential to upstage him either. So you've got all of these things coming through where he's not particularly concerned about the plight of folks, Maryland's, the Virginias, places like that that are DC adjacent have a lot of government jobs. And so this is going to be a devastating impact, and it's going to be hard to reverse it. And I think it'll get worse before it gets better.
Michael?
I mean, Governor Moore, certainly no secret that there are many people that think he would be a great candidate for the Democratic nomination. And as Mustafa said, these folks are so calculating relative to who they want to hurt. I know sometimes they overshoot and hurt their own voters. But in this case, it certainly doesn't hurt them to go after a potential candidate in their backyard, in their state, so they can throw these statistics out later for how much job loss there was. Now, you know, obviously Governor Moore will respond and say it's not his fault. He added jobs. And then they wanted to shrink the government unjustly, and that impacted, obviously, Prince George's County, Baltimore County, and other counties around the state of Maryland. But nonetheless, these folks are cruel, don't care. All they care about is culture, white supremacy, and making sure they hurt black folks. So it's politics and culture is really all they care about. They don't care about policy. If they cared about policy, they would work with experts, work with the Congress, and try to figure out the best way to move forward. That's not how they're operating. So I wouldn't put it past them, if this wasn't by design, to go after the particular state of Maryland, which is obviously some of the counties are bedroom counties to the District of Columbia, as well as Northern Virginia, which is also mostly Democratic. I know we say Virginia and people think red. Obviously, we know Virginia is not a red state, it's more of a purple state. But nonetheless, that surrounding county in Arlington and Alexandria and Loudoun, you have a lot of diverse counties in Virginia. So nonetheless, they may put it by design.
Absolutely. All right, quick break, we come back. Y'all, I saw this thing on Instagram that just tripped me out. And if y'all want a good laugh out of all these farmers, remember Donald Trump said, oh yeah, our people, the blacks, they're gonna take these jobs. I tried to tell y'all what was gonna happen, but wait till we show y'all what these folks actually said. It's gonna trip y'all out. Folks, don't forget to support the work that we do right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. If you want to join our Bring the Funks fan club, the goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. Support us. If you want to use Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here in the bottom left-hand corner. You can also use that for credit card applications. Cash again, that's for Cash App. PayPal is rmartin unfiltered, Venmo RM unfiltered, Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And if you want to send a check or money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 2003 7-0196. Back in a moment.
In my book, The Power to Persist, I share 8 simple yet powerful habits, a blueprint for transforming obstacles into opportunities and pressure into purpose. Just as they fueled my rise from the south side of Chicago to a national stage. And on the Power to Persist podcast, I bring that blueprint to life.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking all things entrepreneurship. Whether you want to jump right in, take a leap of faith, or you've just been thinking about it for a while, we're having a one-on-one candid conversation with Dr. Tierney, our level up coach and YouTuber of the amazing Hey Sugar. So let's talk about entrepreneurship.
Before you jump out here, know that it is some work that goes into it. And not necessarily the work in the business itself, but some inner work.
That's this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie on Black Star Network.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Coles.
Hey, I'm Donnie Simpson.
Yo, it's your man Deion Cole from Blackish, and you watch
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Have y'all seen all of these videos, these farmers whining and complaining about losing their workers and they're not being able to pick their crops? Well, we tried to tell the people it's going to happen. So somebody posted this video on Instagram, and it actually was from 2012. You know, the last time Donald Trump acted a fool when it came to these farmers. I got a kick out of the answers because it sounds like exactly what the farmers are complaining about today. Check this out, y'all.
They think the work is so hard until they just turn around and they up and quit.
On the farm fields of Alabama, the verdict is in. The state's tough immigration law just isn't working out.
They're putting Alabamans back to work. In my area, experience that I've had, they ain't too good at what they do.
Keith Smith says most immigration workers left after the law took effect. So this potato farmer hired Americans. Problem is, he says, most show up late, work slower, and are ready to head home after lunch. Some even quit after just one day out in the field.
There's a Hispanic man that works for us, and I say, you know, he's 52, and he'll make anywhere from $70 to $100 a day. I said, if you can keep up with him and do a good job, you can make that. But they're not physically in shape to do it. And, you know, probably not mentally tough enough to do it, some of them.
Over on this tomato farm, the story's not much different.
The bending over, and if you're not used to working and kneeling down and bending over and constantly up and down all day long, is the grueling part of it. It really is. I mean, other than that, it's not any harder than anything else you can do.
With a 9.9 unemployment rate, Alabama is almost 1% higher than the national average. Tomato farmers say skilled workers can make anywhere from $200 to $300 a day, but unskilled workers make much less. And farmers say many Americans are not physically fit and simply don't work fast enough.
It's just going to take body conditioning, mental conditioning, in order to earn enough money to make it worth a day's work.
Politicians who support the law say over time more unemployed Americans will fill these jobs. They insist it's still too early to consider the law a failure. Nicole Grether, The Associated Press.
See, Joe, the reason I want to run that because I don't know where these people are living. I mean, this whole idea, I love the story there. They do hard work. You got to stand up, bend down, stand hard, stand up. Then one guy talking about, well, you know, if they work hard, they can make $70 to $100 a day. Folk ain't going to do that. And all of these farmers are now realizing, all of these idiots who voted for Trump, these farmers all over the place, they now are realizing, oh, damn, what the hell were we thinking?
Yeah, I mean, that's real talk. I mean, there was a time when we picked them fields out like that. But listen, I'm in Redlands where we've got plenty of citrus farms and you know, oranges to pick or whatever else. And I ain't seen nary a black person out here picking them. Let's keep it real. Some of us don't do that. We are obese as a society. A lot of people don't have the mental fortitude and the physical fortitude to be out here doing some of the things that immigrants do, whether you're talking about being a farm worker, whether you're talking about construction, you know, those types of things. Even Ronald Reagan, who had a whole lot wrong with him, understood that, which is why he did the biggest amnesty program in United States history. The problem is going to be, and it's starting to be, that Donald Trump is choking the people that support him that are on these farms because they can't get the workers. Folks aren't going to show up. It's not going to happen. So it's interesting. You know, we've been here before. We've seen people pass these hardcore laws. Oh, we just want, you know, non-immigrants. No, it's too late. You done already built the country on immigrants. If you really want to be honest, then you have to tear down the whole country and start all over. You know, you want to start in the middle of the story. Immigrants built this country. Black folk built this country. Black folk built the White House. Fill in the blank. You can go on and on and on. Now you want to start in the middle of the story and do something else. Okay, great. Get somebody to work these fields or literally have your fruit and have your product die on the vine. That's where we are. It's pretty poignant. It's pretty symbolic of what's going on. Some things are dying on the vine here, both literally and figuratively.
I mean, it is stunning to me. In a moment, we're going to play something, Michael. It's actually it's coming out of England because now you see all these white folks now complaining about Muslim immigrants, and we're seeing it left and right. And I'm just sitting here trying to tell these folks, what's wrong with y'all? Like y'all act like white folks are growing on trees. They're not. Their population is not increasing. So where do you think you're going to get folks in the future? It's laughable to watch these people who have no understanding of really what's happening in the world.
You're right, and I think, Mustafa, you and I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago when we were on previously, is that it'll be interesting to see months from now how much they love their president so much that self-preservation is secondary. If they lose their farm, oh, I don't care, I just need to give him a chance. Don't worry, he's gonna make it right. We'll see how far that goes, when clearly, if you're talking about the state of Alabama, and if those statistics are correct, assuming they are, you know, they're almost at double-digit unemployment. And that means these folks who own these farms are gonna be in deep, deep trouble. And it's going to cost us more at the grocery store because obviously we'll have to find these vegetables and fruits and potatoes and tomatoes from other places, which means we may even have to import some of these products that we grow ourselves. So he and his folks and the Stephen Millers of the world are so, as you know, because you've heard me say it several times, their number one priority is white supremacy. The number one priority is making sure that people of color do not continue to have their foothold in this country. And so if you can obviously get some folks out of the country by deporting them, either legally or illegally, that takes a certain portion away. Then if you can drive some of the richest African-American counties in the country and drive folks like that crazy and bankrupt, then maybe you're getting another portion out. If you start to change the rules relative to hiring, then you can push another segment out. And that also, it doesn't just mean people of color. It means women too. And that's where some of these natural ally bases need to come together to stop this guy or stop his agenda, which is why the midterm elections next year are so important.
Yeah, I mean, the thing here, Mustafa, and we're seeing this, and I'm linking this because we need to understand what's going on. We talk about white nationalism, white supremacy, all these things are all together. And in a moment, I'm going to show you what happened in England. And then you've got Congressman Chip Roy, who's acting a fool, losing his mind, complaining about the immigrants of Muslims in England. And so all these things are connected. What is happening is white people worldwide are like, oh my God, we are really and truly becoming the minority. When you had a lot of the speakers at the Charlie Kirk Memorial talking about, Western civilization and how this is being brought back. What they're really saying is whiteness is coming back.
Okay, well, if that's what they want to believe, but that's not what the statistics tell us, we should be very clear about this moment. Not only the racism that you see inside of America, which of course has been here since the beginning, but they're also making sure that they are stoking fears across Europe. So this is a very intentional set of actions. People know what they are doing. It is well funded, and they have an ultimate goal. But unfortunately, that ultimate goal will actually mean their own destruction. And what I mean by that, when you look at it from an economic lens, right? So we started off this story talking about, how farmers are now being hurt. Well, I mean, hate and racism has a cost, right? So they often think about the cost for folks of color, but it also has a cost to these individuals who are supporting it through their vote. Because, there's a conservative number out there that there are 3 or 4 million farm workers who are out there, not farmers, but the farm workers, the individuals who are actually out there in the fields doing the work, that incredibly difficult work, sometimes in 100-degree temperatures, being exposed to pesticides, all these other types of things. So there's an impact, of course, to those individuals, but you can't get other people because Americans are not going to stand in a field, and I've been there because I work with farm workers. They're not going to allow pesticides to drift across, and they have to breathe those in, or they're not going to work in fields for 10 hours and get $7 an hour and not have enough water to drink or enough food to eat, all these different types of dynamics that go on. So when you see folks stoking these fears, they're not thinking this through because you don't have the individuals, not through birth or through their interest and actually working for minimal amounts of wage to do this incredibly difficult work. But they fool folks. Wealthy people will fool everyday working class folks into hating individuals who are doing the work that no one else wants to do. And that's the dynamic that's currently going on. And that's why we have to continue to put a spotlight on, one, how difficult this work is and how hate ends up coming back around. It's like a cancer, and it ends up eating up the host who thought that they were going to utilize it to actually, cause pain or to erase other individuals. It ends up erasing everyone. And that's what we have here in this moment. So people need to wake up. You need to wake up, not only with your vote and make sure you're actually voting for somebody who cares about you and others through humanity, but also is not going to end up devastating you financially because of the hate that they put forward. So we'll see if people wake up. I'm still an optimist. I still hope so. But actions over the last couple of years have left me wondering if my optimism is not well placed.
Hell no, you're not waking up. Look, I keep telling y'all what you're seeing here is whiteness left and right. So check out this. This is a white woman in England who is losing her mind because of Muslims being in the country.
We're in England. It's a Christian country. I don't want to hear anything about the Quran. More Christians, yeah.
And those angels apportioning each one. Indeed, what you have promised is true. And indeed.
Take her away. Take her away. Bruh. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. I'm so sorry, I'm sorry. about that.
Well, what a bummer. I ain't got no problem seeing her get arrested. All these people on social media with no First Amendment, no. First of all, that's in England. Two, she was accosting them. And this is a Christian nation. I don't want to hear anything about the Quran. I mean, but what that, you're seeing the same reaction to these folks here in the United States. Here's Texas Congressman Chip Roy whining, complaining about something on the floor of the House of Congress.
I mean, is anybody paying attention to what's happening in London? I'm going to say it here on the floor of the House to get the scorn of people when I say you've got a massive Muslim takeover of the United Kingdom going on right before our eyes. They would say, Chip, well, what is wrong with that? Well, I've got some pretty strong concerns about Sharia law and whether that'll be forced upon the American people. In this case, the people of the United Kingdom. I've got pretty strong concerns about people who want to see Israel's destruction, who were happy about October 7th, who were elected in the United Kingdom. Some might say that we've seen that here in the United States. What are we going to do about that? We have 51.5 million people who are foreign born in the United States. They have about 20 to 25 million kids. That puts that well over 20-some% of our population. It's the highest such number in the history of our country. People say, well, isn't that great? Is it? Are we teaching people about Western civilization? Are we teaching people about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the rule of law? Are we teaching them Western values? Are we teaching them God exists? Are we teaching them the importance of freedom? Or are we teaching an entire generation or two or three to run around complaining about what's wrong and why the entire world is against them because of their skin color, their sex, their supposed gender identity, whatever the hell category we create to make people have an excuse for not just stepping up and achieving the American dream?
Oh, Joe, he's so concerned about Sharia law, which is not a thing here. But they have no problem forcing their white Christian nationalist views on other Americans.
You want freedom, but you're okay with your guy smashing the Constitution, throwing it away, getting rid of due process, undermining the Constitution at every turn, less freedom, less say, more government control when you used to be anti-government. You know, it's crazy, all this talking out of both sides of your mouth. And it's interesting that you're worried about Britain, worried about London, England. I mean, that didn't have anything to do with us. Not a thing. I'm still waiting on what the connection is there. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, you act like you're worried about freedom going away when your guy's taking freedom. But of course, you're fine with it as long as it contributes to your narrative. You talk about God, but you only talk about it your way. He's from Texas, so he's probably real excited. Everybody's going to start living right because they got the 10 commandments on the door. But if they really understood what was what, they could put the 2 commandments on the door from the New Testament and have it happen faster. But in the event, we can go on and on. But the fact of the matter is, there's this irony here, because even if you disagree with Republicans back in the day, and when they talked about freedom, though, they weren't talking about states' rights. They were talking about the government staying out of the way. The government is more involved. The government is more all-encompassing and will continue to become so under Donald Trump. And on top of everything else, it's being used to exact revenge. It's being used to force agendas. And it is a steamroll that is okay with undermining the Constitution, throwing as much stuff as possible up against the wall. And even 20 to 30% of it lands and not the rest. The impact will still be devastating, because it's so much easier to take a hammer to something and to destroy it than it is to build it back up. It's just hypocrisy all the way around.
Yeah, it's just to watch this, and I'm telling you, I've been saying this repeatedly, Mustafa, people need to be prepared for this. This was the basis of my book, White Fear, how the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds. This is a part of this. These people are going to grow more fanatical. As the numbers increase, as their numbers decrease, it's going to get worse.
I mean, unfortunately, that's probably true. If folks were better humans, if they loved each other, you wouldn't have to worry about it, right? If you hadn't done oppression, because I think there's some fear out there about the oppression that has been a part of this country's history. And because of that, they saw how they treated others who were Black and brown and indigenous and Asian and Pacific Islander, and we can go on, and how, they were treated. So their fear is that once this country becomes a browner country, that those types of things will, flip, and that they will have to deal with it. But, that has never been for folks of color how they got down. They should be more focused on all these other external stressors that are going on. When you have China and other countries that, they sit back and they watch these types of actions and they say, yeah, go ahead and continue. Go ahead and continue to deconstruct. Go ahead and continue to fall apart and not do what's necessary to strengthen your country. That's what they should be focused on, saying, how do we make our folks who live in this country as strong as possible? How do we make sure that they are well educated? How do we make sure that they have the things that they need? But that's not a part of the equation, because they don't look at it through an abundance lens. They look at it through a lens of there's only so much and we need to hoard it, which is a failing proposition to begin with. But it is what it is. Their fear is driving many of these sets of actions. They're trying to inflict that fear, and they're trying to actually make that fear become just a part of the narrative everywhere so they can get more people to believe into it. But we've seen, whether it's in Germany with Nazism or a number of other locations where you had these authoritarian types of regimes, that's how they thrived. That's how they got traction, and then that's how they became the individuals that we now look at through history and say, how did that happen?
It is unbelievable to me to watch these folks and to watch what they're doing, Michael. And check this out. So Ryan Walters, he is the superintendent of schools in Oklahoma. He just put out this video, and this ties directly into the white Christian nationalism we have been talking about. Check.
I'm excited to announce today that every Oklahoma high school will have a Turning Point USA chapter. We have seen the outpouring from parents, teachers, and students that want to be engaged in the meaningful work going on at Turning Point. They want their young people to be engaged in a process that understands free speech, open engagement, dialogue about American greatness, a dialogue around American values. We're so excited to partner with Turning Point USA with this initiative. For far too long, we have seen radical leftists with the teachers union dominate classrooms and push woke indoctrination on our kids. They fight parents' rights. They push parents out of the classroom. and they lie to our kids about American history. What we're going to continue to do is make sure that our kids understand American greatness, engage in civic dialogue, and have that open discussion. We will continue to do all that we can to make sure Oklahoma students have the best education possible.
So, Michael, they're going to mandate a Turning Point USA chapter every high school. That includes those black high schools. You have a legislator in Oklahoma who also put forth a bill to require every state university in Oklahoma erect a Charlie Kirk Memorial Plaza.
I imagine you'll see that possibly in other red states around the country, in particular, obviously ones that are particularly dominated by Republican elected officials. I certainly think that's possible. We might as well get used to seeing that come around. And, you know, coupling that with what we were discussing a second ago, I think it was Mustafa that was talking from your question, Roland. And certainly, at a risk of giving your book, White Fear, a plug, you know, it all started back on the plantation when the families, the enslavers, were concerned that the slaves would band together and rise up against them because there were more slaves than there were family members in the house. But they had the weapons, obviously. They had the law behind them. So when Reverend Nat Turner flipped the script a little bit and did what he did with his movement, that's the concern, leapfrogging 100 and whatever it is, 68 years from then to now. The concern is, back to the Browning of America, are they going to then do to us what we did to them? And that's a legitimate fear. We don't see it that way relative to retribution. I know some people do, but most
here.
Yes,
because the reality is we are far more forgiving than they are. It's not. Look, after Mother Emanuel, how many folks were sitting were forgiving Dylann Roof after what he did, gunning nine black people down? They're not forgiving. So that's what it's all about. So again, what this fear is, they see what's going on. They see their numbers dwindling. They see what's happening. And so what they want you to do is cement white Christian nationalism in every sector of our community. That is why that's the attacks against DEI, the attacks against Black Lives Matter, the attacks when it comes to woke. This is critical race theory. That's where they are. You heard him say, oh, these indoctrination, teaching other history. No, y'all been lying about the history all this time.
Correct. And that's what's obviously why elections have consequences. I know we've all heard this term many times, but they absolutely do. Now, in some of these red states where they're ruby red, maybe it'll be a little more difficult. But in some of these other states, giving any kind of quarter to folks, or let's be reasonable and let's let folks have what they need. But if they're going to be preaching white supremacy and direct racist language and rhetoric, then you have to stand up again. Yes, do they have the First Amendment right to say what they want? Of course they do. Did Mr. Kirk have that right? Of course he did. Just as people have the right to disagree or bring up videos of things that Mr. Kirk said that were absolutely flat out racist. Now, you know, folks can debate it and get mad at folks and bring those kind of things up, but it's true. And so what do you do with that? Yes. Did he have a right to say it? Absolutely he did. Do people have the right to challenge him? Absolutely they do. Did he deserve to get murdered? No, he did not. So all those things can be true, but that's also where others have to step up and say, no, you're not going to take books about Black history off of our shelves. No, we're not going to take books off our shelves that may offend you. Then you know what? Don't read it. Don't take it off the shelf. Other people may. So those are some of those cultural things that they have baited the Democratic Party in, because we get caught off on these other, going down the rabbit holes on these cultural fights and forgetting about the policy stuff that also matters. I'm not saying don't fight the cultural things, you absolutely have to, but that shouldn't be your only fight during a campaign. you also have to talk about policy that changes people's lives and improves it.
But the reality is the cultural battles are there, Mustafa, and at the end of the day, you're gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah, you are. And you have to deal with it through the civic process, which is incredibly important. You got to vote. You've got to make sure that you're thinking through who you're giving your vote to. You've got to make sure that resources are going to the places and spaces that need them the most. All these different types of things. And, you know, when they have this conversation about American exceptionalism, I'm like, what could be more exceptional than looking at all the amazing things that Indigenous and Black folks have done inside of this country? So if you truly wanted to have a conversation about the greatness of America, then it has to start with the communities who had all these hurdles that they had to deal with and still were able to do amazing things. So that's, for me, that is the narrative that's there. We've got to continue to bring that forward, but we've also got to continue to be very clear about the fights that have to happen and what are the tools that you have to be able to address not just these egregious actions, but how do we really make sure that this country becomes a 21st century country? I had a conversation earlier today and said it really looks more like a 19th or 20th century country right now based upon how we're moving. So if we're serious about the future, then the work that we're talking about right now is incredibly important. And that means that we're going to have to sacrifice. That means that we have to get focused. That means that we have to build real community. And at the end of the day, we've got to make sure that we're utilizing our vote in a way that helps to make positive change happen.
All right, then. Mustafa, Joe, Michael, I certainly appreciate y'all being on today's panel. Gentlemen, thank you so very much. Folks, when we come back, we're going to talk with a book author regarding the role that her family played in the building of America, the architecture of America. We'll talk about the Black family who built America next, right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. In the next hour, we'll also talk with another book author when it comes to how do you overcome resilience coming up from a very, very difficult neighborhood, Southside Chicago, to becoming a highly successful businessman. All that, second hour of Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Brina Funk fan club. If you want to support that work, please do so by using, if you want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here, bottom left-hand corner. If you want to use credit card applications for that as well, you can do so. Also, of course, PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo, RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, and of course, checks and money order. Checks and money order, make payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Send it to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Back in a moment. Anthony.
I'm Dr. Greg Carr, and coming up on the next Black Tape, speaking with Dr. Lucius T. Outlaw Jr., master teacher and philosopher. He takes us on his journey to discover and celebrate Black philosophy.
From my undergraduate years at Fisk all the way through my PhD, I was never in a philosophy class where I had a professor who was a person of African descent, nor a sign or text written by a person of African descent, ever.
How he pushed back at those who said there was no such thing and got us all thinking about what it means to be Black. That's on the next Black Table, exclusively on the Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking all things entrepreneurship. Whether you want to jump right in, take a leap of faith, or you've just been thinking about it for a while, we're having a one-on-one candid conversation with Dr. Tierney, our level up coach and YouTuber of the amazing Hey Sugar. So let's talk about entrepreneurship.
Before you jump out here, know that it is some work that goes into it. And not necessarily the work in the business itself, but some inner work.
That's this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie on Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Hurricane Katrina, 20 years later. Cannot believe that it's been more than 20 years since we saw Black people and Black communities across New Orleans and the South being failed by our government. But it's a harrowing lesson. We're going to unpack how race and class intersect in ways and how we need to talk about this government doing more for our communities. Again, you're watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, we talk about the principles of mindset, strategy, and execution. This week, we're adding a fourth, faith. You're going to hear from a mother and daughter duo who are helping thousands of Black women build wealth, all through their faith.
You are more than you can ever imagine. Not just obtaining things to show that, but seeing yourself.
Making your faith work for you. That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Hi, my name is Freddie Ricks. I'm from Houston, Texas.
My name is Sharon Williams. I'm from Dallas, Texas.
Right now, I'm rolling with Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
Folks, we talk a lot of books on the show. We talk all the time about, of course, the history of this country, who built this country, how we even got here. And all too often, stories are not being told properly. We talk all the time about his story compared to actual history. And so my next guest is the author of a book that really is important, that tells a story that many people are not aware of. It is called The Black Family Who Built America, The McKissacks, 2 Centuries of Daring Pioneers. The book is by Cheryl McKissack Daniel along with Nick Childs. Glad to have you in the studio. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, good. So first and foremost, so when we say the Black family who built America, how so? Because there's a difference between, as that History Channel series, The Men Who Built America, and it's about, the Carnegies and Vanderbilt and Rockefeller and those folks as well. But y'all are talking about literally building America.
Yes. Well, the story is about the McKissack family, but it also represents Black people in general who took hand in building this nation for many, many years. People walk into structures every single day, whether it's, the stadium, the African American Museum, whatever, and they never say, well, who built this? Well, a lot of times, it could be a Black person, kind of like the hidden figures of construction. And so our book talks about our family who's been building in this country for 230 years. But there were also other Black people who were building.
Well, when we talk about building, Royal Rogers, she is the wife of Jonathan Rogers. He was our founding CEO at TV1, and she did a documentary on Paul Williams. And of course, many of these Hollywood homes and also other buildings as well. And it took a very long time for that documentary to actually be told. And that's the thing. And so you have stories like this that are not well known. You see these other stories. You've seen stories in movies and things along those lines, and there are other white architects that people can just roll off their tongue, and because those stories are often told, they're talked about, and they're considered to be these great pioneers, but in nearly all the cases, they ain't black.
Well, some of them are, and now those stories are coming out. And that's why this story about our family is so important now.
You say it goes back 230 years.
Yes.
Where did it start?
So it goes back to the first descendant of our family, Moses McKissack I, who came here as a slave and was taught the trade of making bricks. His son, Moses McKissack II, was a brickmaker and a master carpenter. And he incorporated us right after emancipation with the McKissack Contracting Company in Pulaski, Tennessee, which, of course, that's where the Ku Klux Klan started, which is kind of a backdrop of what he was dealing with when he incorporated our company back in the 1800s. Moses McKissack II, his son, was the first black licensed architect in America with his brother Calvin McKissack, with license 117 and 118 in the state of Tennessee. And they moved our business to Nashville, Tennessee. And then my father took over as the fourth generation of McKissack. And then my mother stepped in when my father became ill. And then I took the company over from her. And so I am fifth generation in this business.
And what you laid out there as you were talking, I thought about so many black-owned businesses that did not go from first to fifth, where many of them end after one generation. Yeah. And if they did survive one generation, they definitely didn't survive a second generation. And so what was it that allowed this to continue?
You make a great point there, because there are some statistics that aren't in our favor. So we've overcome
a whole lot.
I mean, 40% of businesses make it to the second generation, 18% to the third, and 3% to the fourth. And here we sit as the fifth generation. And Nick and I, in this book, we make a case as to how the McKissacks were able to persevere through all that was happening. I mean, they went through slavery, Jim Crow, you know, a racist deep South. And so some of the history that surprised me in here, in our book, was around how slaves were treated different in each state. And the McKissacks were in North Carolina, where the slaves, there were fewer slaves on slave masters probably had less slaves than, 500, 300 slaves, and a white family of 5. Moses McKissack was in a situation where there were 10 to 12 slaves. And so they were more like extended help, extended family, and they were treated differently. And then,
so was it necessarily like others where they had hundreds where it was a business? That was the agriculture business.
Exactly.
Okay.
They were artisans, so, they were builders, and the slave master was a builder. So they were helping hands to build whatever the master wanted to build. So they were taught how to build back then. And so what they brought to the table, the value they brought to the table, was important at that time. I mean, people were beginning to build new homes. They were leaving the log cabin type homes and going to more of the stone structures. And so, and the country economically was beginning to do better. And so you had wealthier people who wanted to build stately homes, which the McKissacks built. In Spring Hill, Tennessee, you can see the McKissack home, the Cheers home, the Maxwell House home, which is the Maxwell House coffee. And, you can go a strip of a street of these beautiful homes that they were building at that time. So their craft was something that was needed.
But the continuation, I think, is important, because what often happens is that next generation has other pursuits.
True.
I don't want to do that. I mean, there's so many kids who want to run away from the family business.
Yes.
And so what was it? Was it literally, no, this is what you're going to do? And because, I mean, other families have done that. Well, no, you are going to study this. You are going to work this. You are going to continue this. Or was it a matter of just as each generation, that was just what the decision was?
Yeah, I think there are several factors in that, and one is what are the other options, right? So Moses McKissack the first, passing the trade down to Moses McKissack the second, which he was able to expand upon. So with each generation, there was more education. They enhanced their trade. So then Moses McKissack the third, he became an architect. By the time I came along, my father was, you can go to the school you want to, but I'm only paying for Howard University, and you're going to get an engineering degree. Okay,
so he established the school and the major.
Established it all because, well, look, we only had 3 stations. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have a lot of choices. I remember at the time I was at a...
Now, is that what you wanted to do?
Not necessarily, because we were...
What did you actually want to do?
We were at a private white school, and everybody was going to Ivy League schools. Even our black friends were going to Harvard, Brown. That's what we wanted to do. We wanted to go to Columbia. We wanted to do those things, but
So you wanted to go to the Ivy League, but what did you want to study?
We probably still wanted to, at least I wanted to study architecture or engineering or business.
Got it.
Because I grew up working in the business.
Right.
I mean, at early ages, I was in the office on Saturdays, walking construction sites. We were trained that way at an early age. But I didn't necessarily want to go to Howard. But once I got to Howard, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And, I'm
But then again, you couldn't, if you went somewhere else, you had to pay for it.
I'd have to pay for it. He wasn't playing about that.
Tom Jones did the same thing. Tom Jones told us, he's like, y'all can go anywhere, but it has to be an HBCU or I ain't paying for it.
Exactly. And so now today, my 2 children, one went to George Washington and the other one went to Pratt. I took them to Howard's campus, tried to talk them into it. It wasn't happening.
But you didn't make it no demand.
I know.
See, that's where you messed up. See, your dad figured it out. Your dad figured it out. You can't like not make a demand. You gotta say, I ain't supporting nothing. You ain't getting no money. You're gonna be 100% on your own. You figure it out. See?
I wish I could put the toothpaste back into the...
that's the problem. See, the problem is the next generation, y'all go soft. See, that's the problem. See, y'all ain't hardcore.
No, we're not.
All right, well, are they at least studying architecture, engineering? Or
No, they didn't. But they're in the business. And, I remember I rebelled against the business. Once I graduated from Howard, I didn't want to work for the family business. So
why?
I moved to New York. I didn't want to go to Nashville. And, I wanted to go into a corporation that was much bigger. There was this allure.
See, no. But that has to be explained because that literally is what happens all the time. I don't care what the business is. I don't care if it's a catering business, if a grocery store business or whatever. That next generation, in many ways, we're looking down on it, thinking that that's not big enough. It's not glitzy. What my friends are gonna say. They're doing these things.
Your peers look down on it too. I mean, I write about that in my book. That my friends were going to work for on Wall Street, and here I am, got a consideration to go back to Nashville to work in a family business.
But see, but the thing though, but with that, at what point did it hit you that? Okay, sure, they're going these places, but we are owners.
Well, you begin to see that there's a glass ceiling, that everybody in leadership does not look like you. And, at some point, they're going to get rid of you because you're not tall enough, you're not white enough, you're not this, you're not that. And so you begin to realize that if you own your own, you really have control over your destiny. And to me, that's what hit me. Now,
it's not like y'all were a small business. I mean, it's not like y'all were a mom and pop business.
No, we weren't a grocery store. We were architects and we were builders, and we had established ourselves 4 generations. But my mother stepped in. She called my boss. She told my boss I was quitting that day, and then she called me and told me I quit. So again, there was a little bit of force there.
Now, which job was that?
When I was working for Turner Construction, which is probably the largest contractor.
So wait a minute,
America.
hold up. So you ain't gonna want to go work in the family business, but then you go work for a construction business, which is really closely tied to the family business, and then what? You were frustrated by what was happening there?
Well, I could see what was happening there, but I liked it there because it was learning ground for me. I was learning much more. You know, I was working on huge projects in Manhattan.
Right.
And that right there, you know, taught me a lot. But then my mother decided she needed my help. And, you know, the time was up.
So wait a
It
minute.
was time for me to go back to Nashville.
Mama called the boss?
Yes.
Did you know Mama was calling the boss?
No. I did not know. And then she called me and said,
so wait a
quit
minute.
today.
Your mama calls the boss, says, hey, she leaving.
That's right.
Then she calls you, say, hey, by the way, I told your boss you leaving, so you ain't got no choice but to come.
That's it. And then I said, oh my God, Mom, I'm scared of him. And she said, oh, he's a nice man. We had a great conversation.
No, you should have been scared of her for calling your boss and you didn't know, saying she leaving a job that you had no plans on leaving.
No plans. And that next week, I start commuting to Nashville.
But do you believe that whether it was the Ivy League schools or the glitzy jobs, do you believe some of that was white validation? And I'm asking for a reason because I've talked to, I've interviewed so many different people, and I've seen so many different stories. And what has been consistent is that even with our businesses, when I go back to the whole looking down on it, you have black children who, oh, that's less than, versus that, whether it's school or whether it's the business. And that thing is real. That thing is real, that what is ours. I was literally did an interview today, and I was telling someone that the power of white supremacy is so deep that the moment we say something is black school, black owned business, many of us automatically go straight to it's second class.
Well, I've lived that. I've been running a black business now for over 30 years. So I've lived that. I've had to hire people. I've had to go for projects. You know, I've had to represent. And I get that. I still get that.
What do you say to the folk who you do employ, who bring that mentality, who come into the door and you know they are moving and acting in a way that they would never do if that was a white company?
So that has happened to us several times, that we have gone out for senior leaders and we've used large search firms to bring them in, and they're white. They come in like they're the great hope. They come in as though they have the best ideas. They want to rearrange and change everything that we're doing, especially our culture. And it has not worked for us. We've rejected those people. And so now at McKissack, because we're in the middle of succession planning, we are appointing a whole new leadership in January. We are now appointing people that have been with us for 18, 20 years, who happen to be black, who understand our culture, who appreciate what they've learned at McKissack, who have seen us grow and were part of that growth over the last 20 years. But yes, of course.
Now, and those are white staffers. How did you deal when you had black folks who thought that way? Because see, when I was at TV1, We will often have, I mean, we might be in meetings or whatever, and I had some staffers that, well, you know, we are a black network. And I literally said, if I hear any of y'all say it again, you're fired. You will not work on this show if that's your mentality, because I know exactly what that phrase means.
Yeah.
And I said, I will fire you if you ever say that again.
Yeah, I've seen it more with our black clients.
No, I mean,
who think the other ice is colder. Yes, I've seen it with black clients, black institutions, where they hire white contractors and then bring us in underneath them.
Right.
You know, now they're concerned that they only have 2% black subcontractors on the job. So they bring us in to fix that. And because the community now is talking about them.
Right.
But it's late, it's too late. I get that, I see that much more.
Now, because I know how I roll. Now, do you bite your tongue or have you pulled some folks' coattails?
I do not bite my tongue. I engage my consultants to write letters, and then I don't contribute to their galas and events ever again. Because these are some of the prominent black institutions in New York that I'm just shocked that they would even consider a black firm.
Now, have any of those folks hit you as like, sure, what's going on? You're not contributing. And do you then say, let me explain to you why?
They know why, but I have had opportunities later on to explain because they find themselves in trouble. They hired the white firm that had the front as a sub, and now they're on the front page of the New York Times, okay? And I run into them later, and I'm like, you see, that's what you get. That's what you get.
See, the reason I think this is so important, because when we talk about building capacity, building scale, earlier you were talking about that glass ceiling. Well, there are black institutions that contribute to that for black-owned businesses. And I've seen this in so many different areas. I've seen this, there are black organizations, civil rights organizations, that literally hire white PR firms.
That's what I want to say.
Oh, I ain't got a problem saying it. So let's just be real clear. I ain't got a problem saying it. I mean, it was a white PR firm, the NAACP hired for the Image Awards, who had no idea who these black celebrities were. So they were literally turning people away on the red carpet.
Crazy.
And there was black publicists going, hey, that's so-and-so from so-and-so's show, that they literally had no idea. And what the black publicists were saying was, okay, you're paying top dollar to that white PR firm because you think that they can get you coverage in mainstream media, and we know the retainers they pay. How is it that you are not having a black PR agency as your lead of the NAACP Image Awards?
Exactly. That's crazy. It was refreshing to walk in here and see all the black people working. You see my PR consultant. You see my photographer, my glam team. I get it. And I'm 100% behind the fact that it's an ecosystem. We have to work together. And you know, it comes together beautifully when we own and we believe that. Let's take Terminal 1 at JFK, where Magic Johnson and Jim Reynolds and Loop Capital are owners. The first thing they did is they brought me in. Then they said, you know, now you got to take it all the way down. You got to hire black architects, black engineers, black contractors. We're now at $1.5 billion in spend with minority businesses. But it started at the top. And so that mentality is one that we have to have. You know, it's about black economic empowerment, and we should be able to do it by ourselves.
When we talk about building, we're talking about whether we're talking about, I mean, any project.
Yeah.
What happened when? Well, no, but before, not them. Have there been situations where internally y'all said, "I think that's too big for us," or has it always been, "No, there's nothing too big for us"?
No, there have been projects that are too big for us. But let's take Medgar Evers College in Brooklyn. Back in early 2000s, President Edison O. Jackson, he was determined to have a black firm build his campus. So we went to our partners and, you know, we asked them to joint venture with us and to be a backstop for us. And that's the way you do that. You build partnerships. We did that with Bruce Ratner for the Barclay Arena. We worked with Turner Construction. And so, no, there's a way to do it.
So something happens.
We're not gonna go and take a job that we cannot successfully complete. We don't have one of those in our portfolio.
Right. So the point there is, when you make an assessment of a particular job, and you say, we're big enough to do this on our own.
Yeah.
But if it is a job that is bigger than your capacity, you don't walk away from it. What you say is, okay, who can we partner with?
Right.
See, the reason I had to ask the question, because that's the mistake. I think the mistake that a lot of people make. First of all, they want a job. They want the bigger contract. But if you do not have the capacity for that contract, and then you get it, you actually end up hurting yourself because you can't do the high quality job. And then that word spreads around, and you're trying to get to this level, and it may actually knock you lower than where you are right now.
It'll take you out.
Right.
In our business, it could take you out. But the large firms do that. You know, no one wants the risk for an $8 billion project or $4 billion project. So even the large firms team, and they spread that risk around. And so we've been successful at doing that over the years, but we have to educate our client that that's possible.
Right.
Because the client right away says, oh, it's too big for McKissack.
Right.
Let's go get the larger firm.
And you're like, hey, hold on, don't play me small.
Right.
Let me make that decision.
Right.
You said y'all started the new transition in January. Will that be the 6th generation?
No, it'll just be a great management team that has been with us for a very long time.
And why is that?
Because I'm looking at succession. I've been working on succession planning for several years now. And, you know, by 2030, I'd like to cut back on my hours in the office. And so I want to start the succession now. And I'll have 5 years to see it through. I feel succession planning is missing in a lot of family owned.
So there were no family members who you said can run this business?
Not now, no.
Now that's not an easy decision.
No, but you know, when you talk about succession planning, it's the management side and then it's the ownership side. So I'm looking at how to deal with the ownership side with actual family members and probably some of my staff members.
Because the thing that even part of that, I was in this debate with somebody, and we were talking, I'm not gonna name the individual, we were discussing. But what I said to him, and he couldn't believe it. I said to him, I don't measure great Black business founders or owners by how they succeeded and ran their business. I said, I call them great based upon how they left it. And he was like, I'm not understanding. So then when I explained to him this particular business, how it was left when the founder passed away, I said, that's why I can't call this person a great businessman. I said he was a good businessman. He was great while he lived. I said, but those who are great is that they properly position the business to succeed without them, and they made those succession plans very clear. And so that's whether it's a pastor of a church, whether it's a business owner, that is a huge—
A politician.
Right. Yeah, say politician as well. But that is a huge part of legacy, that you are thinking about that, and it's not just solely about me, myself, and I.
No. I feel it's incumbent upon me to get in the right management team to carry this business forward without me and to grow it. You know, it shouldn't just be on my shoulders. And so I've been working at that for a while. And, you know, I had to take a sabbatical this year for a couple of years. So the management team that I'm putting in place actually started running the company back in February. And we just kept it going. As you know, I'm on a book tour.
Well, somebody got to do some work.
Somebody's got to do
some work. Last question, I ask all book authors this, and that is, in the writing of the book and doing the research, what was your wow moment? Was there something that you remembered, or was there something about the research that caused you to go, wow, that was unbelievable, that's crazy?
There's a whole chapter on Birth of a Nation. And
the movie?
The movie.
Got it.
And, you know, what does that have to do with construction? But it has a lot to do with all Black businesses at that time, because that was when Black businesses who had white patrons had to shift to only have Black patrons, because at that point, you know, just that imagery alone made white people not want to go to Black businesses anymore. And, you know, not only not go to them, just out and out kill us too. Right. Because if you were white and you hated us, this just gave you the license to go ahead and kill.
Yeah, Julianne Malveaux talks about that in her research. She said, a lot of people understand, a lot of the lynchings were not tied to some white man speaking to a white person, whatever. It was the jealousy of the success of Black-owned businesses.
It was jealousy. That's the root of it. You know, it's the brokenness of those people that couldn't deal with Black people succeeding.
Right.
You just left us alone.
You segregated, you did everything, had folk enslaved, did all of that, and now you mad because despite all of that, we still
rise.
Right.
We're rooted and we still rise.
Right. Well, some things change, some stay the same. Y'all, the book is The Black Family Who Built America, the McKissacks, 2 Centuries of Daring Pioneers. Cheryl McKissack Daniel with Nick Childs. Get the book, folks. Y'all know how we believe about history versus his story. And so that is critically important. And so again, Cheryl, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, going to go to a break. We come back. We're going to chat with Lamell McMorris, a businessman from Chicago, growing up on the south side of Chicago to running and owning several different businesses. In his book, he talks about the importance of having resilience. That conversation is next, right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
This week on the other side of change.
Hurricane Katrina, 20 years later. Cannot believe that it's been more than 20 years since we saw Black people and Black communities across New Orleans and the South being failed by our government. But it's a harrowing lesson. We're going to unpack how race and class intersect in ways and how we need to talk about this government doing more for our communities. Again, you're watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Dr. Greg Carr, and coming up on the next Black Table, we're speaking with Dr. Lucius T. Outlaw Jr., master teacher and philosopher. He takes us on his journey to discover and celebrate Black philosophy.
From my undergraduate years at Fisk all the way through my PhD, I was never in a philosophy class where I had a professor who was a person of African descent, nor a sign of text written by a person of African descent, ever.
How he pushed back at those who said there was no such thing and got us all thinking about what it means to be Black. That's on the next Black Table, exclusively on the Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking all things entrepreneurship. Whether you want to jump right in, take a leap of faith, or you've just been thinking about it for a while, we're having a one-on-one candid conversation with Dr. Tierney, our level up coach and YouTuber of the amazing Hey Sugar. So let's talk about entrepreneurship.
Before you jump out here, know that it is some work that goes into it. And not necessarily the work in the business itself, but some inner work.
That's this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie on Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, we talk about the principles of mindset, strategy, and execution. This week, we're adding a fourth, faith. You're going to hear from a mother and daughter duo who are helping thousands of Black women build wealth, all through their faith.
You are more than you can ever imagine. Not just obtaining things to show that, but seeing yourself.
Making your faith work for you. That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen Shutdown.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, Dave. This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
In my book, The Power to Persist, I share 8 simple yet powerful habits, a blueprint for transforming obstacles into opportunities and pressure into purpose. Just as they fueled my rise from the South Side of Chicago to a national stage. And on the Power to Persist podcast, I bring that blueprint to life.
Folks, running a business, owning a business is not easy. Starting one is not easy, but that's one thing. But how do you even get there? What do you need to go through? There are a lot of people who have ambitions and dreams to do great things, but they never do because they don't want to take that leap. They're scared. Well, my next author talks about the power of resilience. What does it mean to actually look at your upbringing, and then how do you actually overcome all of that to live the dreams that you want to live? The book is called 8 Simple Habits to Build Lifelong Resilience. First of all, it's called The Power to Persist, 8 Simple Habits to Build Lifelong Resilience. Lamell McMorris is the author of the book. Joins me right now. What's up, 06?
How you doing, Fred?
All good, all good. I chatted with someone. I did the interview today.
Okay.
And a brother, we did the interview. It was a great interview. He was asking me about the show. He was asking me how do we start the show, how we start the network, and what do we have to deal with. And he asked me about fear. And I told him, I said, well, I wasn't scared. I said, I wasn't scared because I said I wasn't focused on content. I said I was focused on the business of the business. I said, how do you generate money? How do you build that? And he was very surprised by that. And I think for a lot of people, we talk about becoming an entrepreneur, becoming a business owner. They are fearful, and I believe they're fearful because of what they don't know, and they haven't taken the time to study, to focus, to understand the business of the business, and then go from there.
I think fear is, by the way, first of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate our friendship. This actually is part of what it means to build a business, when people like you give folks like me an opportunity to not just tell our stories, but to talk about our work and our business. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Kudos to you for the platform. Fear is actually fuel. It actually becomes part of the energy. Did I wake up this morning as an entrepreneur and a business owner worrying about bills, how I was going to pay people, how I'm going to, absolutely. But you don't let that consume you. You actually let that be the fuel that makes you go get it, that makes you go work, that makes you go propel. You don't get caught up in the fear. I describe, Roland, an entrepreneur as someone who goes on top of this nice fancy building, jumps off, and then figures out what's going to happen on the way down. You jump. You take the leap. But staying in business, building a business is what helps you on the way down figure out how to stay in business.
But the fear also for me, again, when we talk about the idea of resilience.
Right.
You're going to face that.
You're going to fail.
It's going to happen.
You're going to have hardships.
And that to me, it ain't simple. And so what I tell folks is that's actually what you have to fortify yourself. How do you prepare yourself every day for that letdown when that contract didn't come through? Man, you were banking on that, and but you already had dreams of what you were going to get, what you were going to do.
Yeah.
And then now you're depressed and tired. It's like, okay, well, no, now that's done. Now I got to go to the next thing. And that to me is also the difference between the folk who we talk about today who are highly successful and those who are not, because they understood I can't let that small setback keep me from trying to get to my dreams. So
I mentioned it in the book. I think you know my relationship with Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. And he has this saying that, look, if you knock me down right now, that's on you. If you come back next week and I'm still down, that's on me. As someone whose business partner walked out, I've been fired. It is at that moment where you have to figure out who you are, you have to figure out whose you are, and you have to come up with a plan. In the book, the habits I talk about are being vulnerable, being agile when the door closes. How do you maneuver? How do you navigate to start something new, to reinvent yourself? We talk about this dogged determination. When I think about Roland Martin and all that he's been through to start up this network that has 1.5 million, but coming from being other situations where that didn't work out so well, we don't stop. We just keep going until we figure out and until we reach the goals we set, until we succeed.
See, you have these points.
Yeah.
And your chapter 3 is work ethic. I just simply believe, out of all of them, that is the most important. And the reason because when young people come to me and they say, oh, if there's one thing, what piece of advice could you give me or to these students or whatever, and to be a great journalist? I said, what I'm about to tell you applies to any job you're going to. I said, you got to have work ethic.
No doubt about it.
Deion Sanders says, I need those folks who got some dog in them.
That's right, he does say.
And the thing for me is that's what drives me crazy.
Yeah.
People who work for me, people who've interned for me, it drives me crazy. I don't care if you've been in this business 3 days, 3 years, or 30 years.
Yeah.
I got to see work ethic. I got to see you give a damn and you come in here early and you're putting in the time and you're learning new stuff and you're not just relying on somebody else that you're, no. I'm gonna stay on top of what's happening in the business. To me, that's what separates.
No doubt about it. So the journey, by the way, today we are very excited about the fact that, as a first-time author, book coming out today for the first time, September 23rd, we're already an Amazon bestseller, right? But I mention that because we're proud, but, my publisher may get mad at me. When you engage in this process, the publisher has, their plan, right? But then Lamell, the author, has to have his plan.
Right.
And so you kick in and you do the extra work, you go beyond, and I think part of what we've been able to do, and I talk about network is one of the habits of being resilient in the book. I've gone beyond, above and beyond, and thank God it's now paying off. I'm convinced, Roland, that there are people that are smarter than you and I. There are people that are taller than you and I. There are people that look better than you and I. But I don't think anybody is going to outwork us. And that's the difference. You got to lean into your strength and what you can do best.
And the work ethic also, it means that it also is tied to the business.
Yes.
So a guy stopped me and he said, man, you carry your own stuff?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You don't have somebody who does this stuff?
Oh, yeah.
You talk about somebody who didn't want to open their mail.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. I said, here's what you don't understand. I said, why am I said, let's run the numbers.
Yeah.
I said, it takes me 15 minutes to set my stuff up. Why am I going to pay somebody a full day rate?
Yeah.
An airline ticket?
Yeah.
A hotel?
Yeah.
A per diem to do what I can literally set up in 15 minutes? I said, that's a dumb business move.
Well, you know this because, first of all, servants of all, we shall transcend all. It's hard to lead from behind.
That's for all of y'all Omegas, Kappas, Iotas, and Sigmas. It's two of them in that control room. They know.
Yeah. It's hard to lead from behind.
And that Delta too. Yeah, you know. Yeah.
And I think that the first step towards leadership is to first be a good servant. Dr. King said that everyone can lead because everyone can serve.
Right.
You don't have to have a college degree. You don't have to have your PhD. You don't have to understand.
Or you don't have to have a title.
You don't have to have a title. And what people don't recognize is, everybody sees, and this is what I love about being here in your studio. Everybody sees the glory. Everybody sees the results, but people don't focus on the story. Mm-hmm. The story, what people don't see you do, carrying your own stuff. I've been with you, carrying your own stuff, setting up your own equipment. You can't you can't skip over the story. You cannot skip over the work part in order to get to this part.
You grew up in Chicago.
South Side of Chicago.
What did you see? Or did someone else see what you're doing now and said, no, this is what you're gonna do?
It's a combination of both. I'm clearly the result of a lot of people pouring into me, my mom, my family, mentors, etc. But there's an old gospel song that I really didn't understand until later in life, and it says, something within me. All I know is I thank God for whatever that something is. As a kid who grew up on 66 in Cottage Grove in Woodlawn, I was always attracted to politics. Chicago's a very political place, but I was the kid who could tell you, even as a child, who the alderman was, who the mayor was, who my member of Congress was. I knew the president's name, the vice president. And so that seed was planted in the shadow of Harold Washington becoming the first black mayor of Chicago, which was...
Now, why was that planted? Were your mother, were your folks involved in the campaign?
No,
was it watching television, newspaper?
I was always that kid at the table with adults making decisions about public policy stuff. I was the current events perfect exam. And in the book, and I tell people, there's a line from our childhood. It may not necessarily be straight, but there's a line from 66 and everything I was there into being here in the Capitol in Washington, D.C. with you and all that I've done. And I've just tried to be as faithful as possible to that line, to that seed, to that thing that I cannot explain that has been in me since a kid. Fostered and facilitated by family, by church, by mentors. But it was something that unexplainable that put this in me that makes me who I am today. Through the habits, through work ethic, through determination, through school, absolutely, you have to put in the work, but it's also that intangible that I think has always been there.
Earlier you talked about working with Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., and you had other opportunities.
Yes. Who will be 84, as a matter of fact, in about a week and a half.
Absolutely. When did you know, or what was it? Walk people through when you knew, whatever the job was, it was time to go. Because see, that to me is also another hard thing for people who want to fulfill dreams. Because I go back to fear.
Yes.
And what am I going to get paid? What's going to happen? Or whatever the heck. Not realizing that you have to know
Yes.
when it's time to go.
I've never told this publicly, so kudos to you for getting it out of me, and what a phenomenal question. I was, when you travel with Reverend Jackson, and at the time I did, so for everyone, I was Reverend Jackson's body man. So what Reggie Love was to Obama, that's what I was to Reverend Jackson at the height of his prominence and stature, going to the White House. I've stayed in hotels I never dreamed of, traveled in ways that I've never dreamed of. And so it was one occasion.
Because people have no idea, especially out of the country, Reverend Jackson is seen as,
oh my goodness,
as a diplomatic figure. I mean, there are motorcades. There are people don't understand how he's received around the world.
No. We're down the street right now in your studio from the White House. I remember being able to drive. He would, not everyone. He could drive. We would drive the car directly up to the front door to be able to see the nation and the world, to your point, through Reverend Jackson's eyes. It's immeasurable what that has done for me. But I remember we would get on private planes a lot. Occasions people would let us use their plane, and that's how we would have to travel, because we would be in 5, 10 cities, in 24 hours. On this one occasion, we got on a private plane, and I looked around, and it finally hit me, and I said, how do I get one of these? And that was it. When I determined that I could stay with Reverend Jackson for years, and boy, it's comfortable. Boy, I'm getting all kind of access. But how do I figure out how to be still true to what I've been called to do, but achieve some of these goals on my own? And that's when I knew it was time to.
So when you asked that question, that's when you said.
When I asked that question to myself, I got on that plane and I looked around and I said, this is great, and we ride on a lot of these, but how do I get one of these for myself? And boom, I knew at that point it was time for me to transition from that role.
And so, in doing so, some may have said, man, you crazy. What are you doing?
Some of my family members. I remember going home and sitting on the porch on the south side of Chicago with one of my cousins. She's gonna probably freak out if she hears this. And I'm sitting on the porch, over in Chatham, in the neighborhood, and I told her, I'm getting ready to leave from traveling with Reverend Jackson. She's like, what? Because for our people, at that time,
right,
the role I had, being with him everywhere, presidents around the country, around the world, what do you mean? And so, but I was not deterred. As a matter of fact, that again becomes part of the fuel. And, I give much credit to him for the exposure and showing me what was possible. Mm-hmm. And part of that is part of the journey. We need I tell people, your network is your net worth. Mm-hmm. And show me your friends and I'll show you your future. So being in close proximity to people like that allowed me to open my eyes to what was possible.
You say 8 simple habits to build lifelong resilience.
Yes.
But they're not simple.
They're not. But they're also, for most folks, they won't be new. I think what I'm offering is a chance to revive that which may be dormant in you. Perhaps you don't recognize you're being agile, but you don't know the power of the purpose of really harnessing agility. You have moments of vulnerability, but you've really not tapped into just how that will help propel you forward. You think that you're determined, but maybe we could turn it up a notch. And the one that I lean on, and I know you do too, the habit that I lift up towards the end of the book is faith. We all go through church, and this term faith is thrown out there.
Right.
And we define it, those of us who are Christians, as the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. But there is that. But Roland, I'll submit to you, I'll submit to you that when I came to an understanding that I am the substance of things hoped for, I am the evidence of things not seen, for ancestors and aunts and grandparents and great-grandparents that I never met, who never would have dreamed or imagined that I could have the opportunity to do the things that I do. That's a different level of trigger and harnessing of our faith and how that plays into our ability to be resilient.
I'm curious to hear how you answer this question. I'm sure there are people who come up to you all around the country, the world, who say, I want you to be my mentor. When that happens, how do you respond?
rather immediate. I am big on giving out my phone number, my email address. There's certain keys if you're an alumnus of Morehouse College, which I'm huge on, if you're a member of our fraternity. Those are fast triggers, but you don't have to be. I tell young people especially, if you take the first step, if I give you my phone number and my email address and you reach out, I'll take the next step. And I'm proud. I hope there are young people who would say that I've had some level of engagement and input to their journey.
Most of the time I say no.
Yeah, why is that?
Because I have a biblical view of mentorship. For me, mentors choose mentees, not the reverse.
See, that's fascinating. I chose my mentors as a child.
See, I'll dare say you didn't. Let me explain.
Okay.
The mentor has to see something in you to say, I'm willing to invest my time, energy, and resources.
And I talk about dogged determination, and I didn't give them an option to say no.
Right.
I reached out,
but that's
I reached out, and I kept reaching out.
But that's precisely it, though.
Yeah.
That's my whole point.
Yeah.
So my point is, your actions show them he wants this.
True.
And so for me, I use Elijah and Elisha. Elisha says, I want your anointing. Well, if you standing behind me when I drop my coat, you got it. But I ain't about to wait for you.
Absolutely.
He takes off.
Absolutely.
Elisha has to drop his plow and follow him.
Yeah. Elijah
wasn't following him. Okay. Same thing when you talk about Caleb, Joshua. Moses sends them in, y'all go serve the land. Everybody else come back, oh my God, they giants. Well, Caleb and Joshua are the only one who told them the truth. And Moses was like, okay, I'm gonna take care of y'all too, heck the rest with y'all. So what I mean by that is, so I say no.
Right.
To see how you respond. I got to see something in you that's gonna make me take my time.
So we're saying the same thing. I say if you reach out,
you got to
reach out, I'm going to reach back.
But even if you reach out, you got to steal when we was at TV1, there was this young sister who worked on the staff, and she said, we were going to shoot Supreme Court. She said, well, I didn't really go to school for this stuff. I really want to do this stuff.
Right.
I said, okay. So she was with me, handed a camera. I want you to shoot this. Did good. Okay, fine. We come back. I sit down the next day. All right, here's the deal. I sit down with the executive producer. I sit down with one of our video production folks. We'll do this here. You could utilize my camera. So I had a camera left at the office. You can use whatever.
Sure.
4 months go by, never used it. So then we went to LA for the Image Awards. I told the producer, put it on the team. You could see us in an element.
Sure.
Got that, really didn't do anything. And so a friend of hers hit me one day. She's like, oh, so-and-so's gonna be a star one day. I said, no, she's not doing this. And she's like, what? I was like, and so I said, nothing that happened in 4 months. So we had something going on the next month. I took her off the trip. See, my deal is, trips are rewards. You got to show me something at home if I put you on the road.
This dude is tough.
Oh, no, I don't play that.
Gee.
So I took off.
Yeah.
Oh, just crestfallen.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to give her one more shot.
Sure.
So we go to Essence.
Sure.
They're there.
Sure.
Ain't handling her business. We got back. I didn't speak to her for the next 5 months.
Yeah.
And they were like, man, why are you so hard? I said, if you come to me and you say you want this, and I give you every opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
And invest the time.
Yeah.
I said, now you playing with my time.
Yeah.
And I said, so I'm gonna put this in somebody else who really wants this. And that to me is where a lot of people mess up, because it goes right into where you talk about with network. So if you unwilling to go that far, I'm not about to expose you to the people who I know in my relationships. But if you do that,
right,
I can pave the way for you to be able to do something, but you're gonna have to do some work.
Well, I'm with you, but the first thing is I commend you for even being willing to take that type of investment, right? I think we need more women and men in our community who have achieved levels of success to be open to being mentors, and not just casually. I mean, like you're doing, leaning in, being very tough demonstrating what we call tough love. That's a big deal. I won't stop, right? I won't stop giving out the number, but you're right. You know who rises to the top. You know who's really bugging the hell out of you. You know who's trying to reach, who's trying to get your
But they got
attention.
to show it.
That's fair.
Because that's what somebody
That's fair.
saw.
That's fair.
Somebody said, man, this dude, if he called me one more time, hey, some of them may have just taken your phone call just to get you to stop trying to hit him up. But then they realize, wait a minute, he wants this. And that to me is what you have to do if you're trying to achieve something, if you're trying to open a door. Closed mouths don't get fed.
No, you're right. But, you know, you're also assuming, though, with that perspective, that this generation especially has had a similar journey that we have. I am trying to I'm trying to exhibit a tad bit more grace, which is a big deal.
Yeah, you got,
for me.
You got way more grace than I do.
Only because, you know, I can't fault them for what they've not been taught. I can't fault them for living in this world where they're a button away from having everything. They can get everything. They've not had to be as resilient. They've not learned. So part of the impetus and drive to write this book is to not only help folks like you and I, but to show a generation that has not had the journey that we've had, that doesn't know the instinctively to do some of the things.
Absolutely.
And let me tell you, it's a big deal for me. I'm trying to get much more
I gave
grace.
a master class at Clark, Atlanta, 2 hours. I literally walked through multiple examples of how I had benefited in my career because of this networking and this, how I established a relationship, how I got to know, all this sort of stuff. I get done, most of them walk out. Don't even ask for the email or the number. I come down to the front, I take, multiple come up, want photos. Don't ask for nothing. I said.
They're a product of their generation.
And I literally said, I'm sorry, did anybody listen to what I said up there? And I said, not one of y'all? Now, mind you, these are journalism students. So this is not like engineering, whatever. No. This is media. I said, I just explained to y'all how I would not let anybody in media hit Jack Yates High School, Texas A&M, and they did not beat me. And I said, and you walked up to me and asked for a selfie, and you didn't ask me for my contact information.
So that story, you know, only fuels, you know, my desire to lean in more. And I hope for folks listening, that story does the same thing for them. These young people need us in a way that we have never imagined. The fact that you had to shout out and damn near pull people back into the room to say, hey, did you hear me?
And that's not an HBCU thing. Same thing happened. I spoke at Texas Christian University. White private school in Fort Worth, but same thing.
The first instinct is for the selfie. Oh, yeah, Roland Martin is here. But very few are going to figure out, you know, I think this is true. From what I understand, I think you remember years back, Robert Smith gave the money for the graduating class. Coupled with that, people just saw the financial, but he also offered himself on an occasional basis to get on the line with the brothers and have conversation. It was unfortunate, the amount of young men that did not take advantage of that aspect of the gift. So the gift was not just financial. The gift of time. The gift of my experience.
The gift of relationship.
The gift of relationship. And see, that's just it. I think networking is a very superficial term. You and I we exchange a business card. True relationships are built when, you know, you call me, Roland, it's like, hey man, when are we going to play golf? Hey man, how's your mama doing? Hey man, how's your family doing? People are invested in who you are beyond the business. And when they are invested that way, they're going to do whatever they can to ensure that you're successful.
I remember when Jada Smith she executive produced a documentary on Angela Davis. We were at the screening in New York. And we're waiting for her to come through. Will comes over, and I'm about to interview him. He said, wait, before I start, he turns to the camera. He says, I want y'all to know. He said, this brother reached out just to say hi, happy birthday, happy anniversary, don't want nothing, hasn't asked me for anything. And I said, yeah. And I've had people say, man, but man, you were facing tough times. Why don't you call so-and-so and so-and-so?
Yeah.
I'm saying, no. Not understanding that, no, didn't need to, or I didn't feel it was necessary.
That's right.
And I've said to folk, because when you talk about networking, those relationships may not manifest into something for 5, 10, 15 years.
Absolutely.
Or
Absolutely.
you may never get anything monetarily out of it.
That's right.
But you simply have the relationship.
Yeah.
And that to me is a great mistake. And I've actually had to snatch some folks by saying, yo, I need you to chill your ass out and relax.
Yeah, yeah.
You pushing too damn hard.
Yeah.
Okay? Let this shit breathe.
Yeah.
I'm like, calm down.
Yeah.
Know how to ease in, how to ease out, know how to watch that person, understand. And because I said, you can't make this thing about what you want. You got to also learn to look at that person, study that person, and then just know how to move. Because sometimes you meet some folks and you get on their damn nerves.
And you also, before asking something from someone, should figure out how you can pour into them first.
Ronaldo Glover, he was the alpha brother. He was the chairman of the FISP Board of Trustees, City College of Chicago. Matter of fact, ran Reginald Lewis's business after he passed away. Very good friends with his wife. Ronaldo would often, he would meet, and this is what he would say: how can I be of assistance?
That's right. That's right.
Didn't matter. That was his, I mean, that was one he always.
How can I help you?
He always said, how can I be of assistance?
Yeah.
He was being replaced as the chair of the City College of Chicago when new mayor came in, because he lived in Chicago. So basically, he's getting fired.
Right.
He tells the white guy, okay, how can I be of assistance? And the guy was completely shocked by it.
Right.
But Ray, that was always his thing.
Yeah.
That was the question he would always ask.
Yeah, I embrace that, and I do the same thing. You know, in every meeting, it's how can I be of help? You know, people start, they talk, but at the end of the day, it's how can I be of help?
I ask every book author this, and this will be the last question I'll ask you. Whenever one is writing a book, researching a book, doing these things, there's always a wow moment. Something happens where they go, a memory gets jarred, then they go, wow, man, I forgot about that. Or just something pops off. What was it for you?
So in the process, your publisher asks you for the first half of the book so that they can do an initial review. And I thought, you know,
you're writing the book before the book.
Right.
Yes,
and
yes.
But I'm thinking, okay, I'm writing this book for Roland, and I'm going to give him these habits that he can use to become more resilient. She pushed the book back to me. And she said, no, if people don't see and understand your authentic, resilient journey, then it's not going to work. The most frustrating, I'm thinking, I'm proud of myself, I submitted this. It forced me
to go inward.
Put a mirror up and divulge things that I've never admitted, said out loud, and definitely not in this way. And I am the better for that type of liberation. That was the aha moment.
Because what? For your whole deal was normally private, reserved.
Well, I thought I was writing a simple self-help book for Roland. That it was for you. It wasn't for me.
But in order for it to help me, I need to know how you applied these things.
No doubt about it.
You went through.
No, but that was the aha. I didn't, as a new author, I did not know that. I thought, you know, I could write this and I could shield all my stuff. I don't have to talk about you know, my resilience. You know, let me just, no.
Because your personal story, that's actually how someone actually then connects with what you're trying to say.
It's important for people to know I lost a business. It's important that people know, you know, I've been fired. It's important for people to know, you know, I struggle every day. You know, it's important people to know that sometimes what you see on the outside does not represent what's going on the inside. But also, we continue to persist.
But it's also important people to understand that, because what it also reveals, you still overcame it.
That's right.
The greatest mistake that I do believe that we make is, even I think with children.
Yes.
And a lot of parents do this. A lot of parents, they don't talk about pain and suffering. They don't talk about financial issues with their children or whatever the heck.
Yeah.
So then that child has no understanding of what they're actually going through. I remember I was, before COVID, my schedule was just stupid. I mean, I was always gone somewhere on the weekend.
Yeah.
So one particular weekend I was there, and my wife normally took my nieces to church. They would all go out and eat afterwards. And so this time we would, church was over, we driving home. They're like, Uncle Ray, where are we gonna eat? I was like, home? What do you mean? Aunt Jackie always takes us out. I'm like, yeah, I know. I said, spend too damn much money. I said, okay. I said, let's walk through. So we driving.
Right.
So we about to have a math lesson. How many of y'all in here? 6. I'm 7.
Right.
All right. This is average meal. What's the total amount of the meal? They sit there trying to figure it out. Times 4.
Right.
I said times 12.
Right.
Then I'm like, all right, it's 6 of y'all, 3 tutors, laptops,
right,
private lessons,
right,
going through all this sort of stuff like this. I said, I said, if we go to the grocery store, buy these ingredients for this meal, how much is that meal?
Yeah.
It's 6 of y'all.
Yeah.
You can stir, you can chop, went through the whole deal. I was like, oh, y'all gonna fix a damn meal.
Yeah.
But I needed them to understand that there were costs involved with all of this. And I needed them to understand sometimes you're gonna have to cook for yourself because you can't afford to eat out. And so you better understand what that means. And so then when I bought them, whenever their computers and everything, I would tell them, that's the most expensive thing you ever held in your life.
Yeah.
So I need you to understand, don't play with that $2,000 computer because I'm the one who has to pay for it to get it fixed. I needed them to understand that this didn't just show up just because anything happens, I could just go get another one.
Yeah, my mom did not have to beat it into me. I dedicate the book to her because she was the greatest example of what it meant to be resilient. I watched the sacrifices. Mm-hmm. I knew she worked multiple jobs. I knew she was sacrificing things for herself, for me and my brother. I was a latchkey kid. I had to be at home and feed myself, et cetera. So, I'm grateful that the first example of what it means to be resilient and to persevere through hard and difficult times was my mom.
I do believe one of the biggest problems for this generation and the difference between us and them. Somebody actually put a graphic on Instagram. Well, they said, don't you ever, y'all need to leave these Gen Xers alone. Because they went through stuff. It was sort of like they played on slides that took the skin off.
Absolutely. There's something on Instagram that shows the toys that we play with versus the toys that kids play with and how dangerous, it was you risking your life just going out to play.
They were literally talking about, again, being latchkey kids. We babysat ourselves.
Absolutely.
We had to cook. And so a huge part of that psyche is knowing what we had, the stuff that we had to do.
Absolutely.
Which certainly differs from millennials coming behind us.
No doubt about it.
In Gen Z.
It's a totally different world.
So yeah, it is a different world. Y'all, the book is The Power to Persist, 8 Simple Habits to Build Lifelong Resilience. The author is Lamell McMorris. Appreciate it, 6.
Thanks you, brother.
Thanks a bunch.
Thanks for having me.
Folks, that is it for us on today's show. I certainly hope you enjoyed the conversation we had. Kill the music, please. A conversation we had with both of the book authors. Be sure to get both of these books, y'all. And so both are available. Again, The Power to Persist, Lamell McMorris, and then, of course, also The Black Family Who Built America, The McKissacks, 2 Sisters of Daring Pioneers by Cheryl McKissack Daniel with Nick Childs. And so we have these conversations. We talk about new stuff all the time, y'all. And listen, we do this 2 hours a day, every single day. But I believe one of the reasons I also created this show, created this segment, is because when you look at these mainstream white shows, when you look at these networks, they aren't having deep, long conversations. Our book interviews will go anywhere from 20, 30 minutes to an hour. And the issue that I have is that very few, unless you're a big name, then you get on one of these shows, Good Morning America, Today Show, CBS This Morning, or then Morning Joe and these networks. And very few of us get on those shows. And so we created Roland's Book Club. Y'all know I'm an avid reader. I got thousands of books at home. I read 7 to 9 books at one time. And y'all know I don't read fiction. I like stuff that I can actually use, that's nonfiction. But this is important because we have to provide platforms for authors to be able to share their stories, share their works to an audience, for folks to be able to find out about these books and also these very unique stories that you don't hear every single day. And so when you support Roland Martin Unfiltered, when you support the Black Star Network, you're supporting this show, but you're supporting segments like this. You're supporting our segment HBCUs. You're supporting Education Matters, HBCU Connect. You're supporting Fit, Live, Win. You're supporting Tech Talk, where we focus on African Americans who are in tech. You're supporting our marketplace. We're supporting Black-owned businesses. There is no show, and I keep telling y'all this is not a lie, this ain't hyperbole, it's real. There's no Black-owned media company that's doing what we're doing. None at all. Not what we do every single day with this show, with the Black Star Network. We're working on a business show, a weekly business show. We're working on a new daily midday news show. There's a lot of things that are happening, so your support is critically important because what I also say is this here, and I spoke at the church on Sunday in Indianapolis, and somebody asked me, they said, well, you know, how do we support Black-owned media? How do we take our money? And I said, let me help y'all out. I said, a whole bunch of y'all love Starbucks. I said, if you decide not to get one Starbucks drink per once a week, 4 times a month, I said, how much money could you then give to support this show or another Black-owned media company? I said, just look at the numbers. See, the mistake that we make is we say we're poor. No, we're not poor. It's a matter of how we actually use our resources. And that's the difference. And so here, we've been asking the folks, if 20,000, let me be real clear with y'all, if 20,000 of our fans, this is total, okay? We do anywhere from 15 to 18 to 30 million views a month. We've got 1.86 million YouTube subscribers. We've got 700,000 plus or 800,000 on Instagram, more than 700,000 on Twitter, 1.4 million on Facebook, 105,000 on TikTok. And we're on Snapchat, we're on Spill, Spoutable, LinkedIn, all the platforms. If 20,000 people gave this show network $50 a year, I didn't say a month, a year, that's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. Yeah, that's $1 million. That literally handles 5 months of expenses for this entire network. That's it, 5 months. I could take care of the rest. So that shows you how critically important. If 20,000 people, Dr. King said April 3rd, 1968, his last sermon at Mason Temple, he said, Black people individually are poor, yet collectively represent one of the biggest economies in the world. He said we have to learn to move as a collective. And so if you want to see this show, this network grow, your support is critically important. I love these Simple Simon Negroes who say, see, Roland Martin, he is begging. But you see the result of my so-called begging. You don't just see me sitting here. We're sitting in the 5,800 square foot studio. We're about to have an event here, a broadcast going to be handling. Y'all, we can literally, matter of fact, Henry, do me a favor. Give me this shot. Give me the shot here. I just want y'all to see. We got about 60, just give me something. We got about 60 chairs in here. We're going to do this soon. We're going to actually have a live studio audience in here to actually broadcast. I don't think y'all understand what I'm saying. You can't do this if you don't build the infrastructure. You can't do this if you do not have the resources to do it. So just imagine when we have this, when we pack this room out, a live studio audience to do a conversation here. Y'all, that takes money. Renting these chairs costs money. And so that's what I want y'all to understand. So I purposely show y'all what we do here so you understand there's a cost associated with everything that we do. We're trying to give you something that Black-owned media has never done. We're trying to give you something that BET is not giving you right now. TV One is not giving you right now. Not one black network is giving you right now. And that is a high-quality black news show where black people are centered every single day. So to support us via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here in the left-hand corner. Again, you can support us with Cash App. So the multiple ways you can support our show, the Stripe QR code, bottom left-hand corner. Use that QR code. You have PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo is RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money orders, make it payable to P.O. Box, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. If you want to get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, get it. Bookstores, online. Also, get the audio version I read on Audible. You don't want to miss that as well. If you want to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Star Network swag, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. All of our new shirts, you see them on the website, including the one that I have here, FAFO Project 2025 with Project Crossed Out. Get that on the website as well. Also, you see all those items on my news desk. Those are black-owned products. Those backpacks and those spices and desserts and candles and shirts. The head wraps for fitness, all of that. All of those things you see, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. You will see all of those. Those are black-owned companies that are on shopblackstarnetwork.com. So please support them as well, because we have to build black-owned businesses, which build capacity, which builds wealth. And so go to shopblackstarnetwork.com, shopblackstarnetwork.com. And don't forget, I need everybody to download the app Fanbase, of course, social media app. You can do what you do with Instagram, what you do with Twitter, all that sort of stuff is there on Fanbase. If you want to invest in Fanbase, they are very close to ending the Series A raise. They've raised $13.1 million. The goal is to raise $17 million. So if you want to invest, because we have to own where we are. So go to startengine.com/Fanbase. Folks, that's it. I'll see you tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla!